Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk about evolution, the hypothesis of evolution. It is called the theory of evolution in academia, and I wanted to posit whether it is a religion or not. Is it scientific or is it religious? So, first, what we're going to do is define some terms. We have the definition of science. Science is the observation, identification, description, experimental investigation, and theoretical explanation of phenomena. Such activities restricted to a class of natural phenomena. Now we're going to define religion. Religion is the belief in and reverence for a supernatural power or powers regarded as creating and governing the universe. A particular variety of such belief, especially when organized into a system of doctrine and practice. And just one more that we're going to quickly cover here is faith, which is the assent of the mind to the truth of a proposition or statement for which there is not complete evidence. Belief in general. So we have defined those, and now what does evolution claim? Evolution says that life as we know it, the diversity of life, came from a single cell. And if we keep backing this up to relate it to cosmology, we would go that first single cell came from non-living inorganic matter. Now we have this inorganic matter, which is on a planet. We're going to disregard geocentric planar cosmology. So we have this planet of what later developed water, what was molten rock, which came from stars exploding their cores all the way up to iron. And these stars coalesced around galactic centers. And these galactic centers were coalescing themselves of these first elements, which the Big Bang claims were hydrogen, helium, and some lithium. So, to run it back forward now, this naturalistic idea is essentially, it states that there was galactic evolution, that these elements, these chemicals bonded together and became galaxies, galactic attractors, which then around them stars formed. These stars evolved and then died and exploded. I think Lawrence Krauss says the stars died for you so that you could be here.
Stars, and the only way they can get into your body is if the stars were kind enough to explode. So forget Jesus. The stars died so that you could be here today. Okay?
Pretty blasphemous. And he's a lead physicist, so publicly at least. And so these stars expelled their inner contents, and these heavier metal or elements gathered together and eventually formed planets such as Earth. And then the Earth cooled, and eventually there was some water that formed on the rocks, and a strike of lightning hits this rock and became this first cell. Real quickly, I just wanted to jump off that biblically, Satan fell like lightning from heaven, and so the academic system, the main accepted thing is that a bolt of lightning hits and created life. So lightning creating life is, biblically, we know how to interpret who naturalistically created life, because the devil wants to be like God. So Then we have this first life, and this eventually becomes, through speciation, becomes the diversity that we have today. So you have to have this abiogenesis event of non-life creating life, and then you have to have a speciation for that life to become that first simple cell or bacterium to become all that there is today, all plants, fungi, protozoa, mammals, and humans, and etc. So everything, all life. So that's kind of what evolution says. Now, what does evolution require? What are the quintessential elements of evolution for it to be valid, scientifically speaking? Evolution needs abiogenesis, needs to be able to show a non-living thing becoming alive. And we'll ignore information and consciousness in this. Let's just focus on life. Is there evidence for this? What are we presented with? The Urey-Miller experiment, which is getting amino acids, basically a sludge of amino acids. And here's the thing. This is not life, because what are amino acids? Proteins are amino acids, and basically they're carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. And I've spoken to chemistry professors that I've had, and they have told me, and professors that I haven't had too, to get a diverse opinion or input. And I asked them, is carbon alive? No. It's found in all life forms, but not alive. Is oxygen alive? No. Is hydrogen alive? No. Is nitrogen alive? No. What about a sugar molecule? What about CHO? Is that alive? Or carbohydrate, is that alive? No. What about CHON, an amino acid? No. So getting amino acids in a sludge is not life. And there are some other things about this experiment that I'll probably go over at some points to the flaws of the Urey-Miller experiment, but they did not produce life. The other thing that is needed is macro speciation or speciation. The species term can be kind of varied now, because if you produce a polyploidal strawberry, it's still a strawberry, but they'll call it a different species because it has a doubled set of chromosomes, even though it's still a strawberry. So it's actually macro speciation, or like a change in clave. So like, can we get a tree shrew to become a kangaroo? So does this have any evidence? Well, there's someone named Richard Lansky who has been breeding bacteria at Michigan State for a couple decades now, and he's gone over 1 million years worth of evolution in his experiment through bacteria. I think he's gone through 65,000 generations. And so he has bred these bacteria, and they never become a type of algae. They don't ever become a plant cell. They don't ever become anything but bacteria. And this is the best case that evolution could present, because it's got the most generations. Even Richard Dawkins says that the offspring are always exactly like their parents in terms of, like, dogs producing dogs, humans producing humans. But he also then right away follows it up with the paradox of, even though they're exactly like their parents over 185 million generations, you go from a fish to a human.
Because every animal, every person ever born belonged to the same species as its parents. You can take that back as far as you like, and I take it back to 185 million generations ago. You turn over the page and you reveal that your 185 million great-grandfather was a fish.
Do we have a picture of a fish here?
It might even be there. And at first sight, it sounds paradoxical to say that your 185 million great-grandfather was a fish. But on the other hand, every single generation on the way back there belonged to there it is, yes, belonged to the same species as its parents and as its children.
So there is no evidence for macro speciation either, and those 2 points, abiogenesis and macro speciation, are essential. They are needed, critical components to this theory, because you have to have a start. You have to have a start of life, an origin spot, starting at 0 on the graph and going to 1. You have to have that start, and then you have to have, if you look at all the life that there is, and they all make points, you have to have the mobility to get to each point. And there is no observation of mobility between life forms. They stay as themselves. Evolution has no evidence for these essential things, which means that we take it on faith, which is something that religions admit. Religions are on faith. So now, what makes evolution religious? What are some other religious things that it has? Well, what is the supernatural force in evolution? What is the creative force, should say? And that would be naturalism. Nature created all that there is, supposedly, according to this religion. Nature created everything, so nature is the creative force. So that's the creative force that's governing everything. There are systems of doctrines, how we're taught it in school and everything. What else do religions have? Faith in miracles. To me, it's miraculous that non-life could become life, or that a single cell could produce everything. So they have their own set of miracles which require you to believe in. What else? Maybe how to live. How do you live your life? What's right and wrong? Well, evolution says survival of the fittest. All you have to do is survive. Whatever helps prolong and pass on genes is really all that matters, because it's just chemical reaction shuffling around. There's no such thing as right and wrong. What about afterlife? Well, you're chemicals, so you just kind of get recycled into the universe. Chemicals don't really go anywhere. They just keep shuffling. This is, I think, kind of a big one here, is when you criticize people's religions or critique them, some people can be offended, get offensive, get defensive, get agitated. They seem kind of disturbed, and they can maybe even get a little hostile. And I want to say, as Christians, we are supposed to let people critique us and then let the Bible refute them, because if they're arguing from man's so-called wisdom, that's folly to God. So we let the Word of God speak for itself. So when you criticize people that claim they know evolution is true, that when you criticize people with the belief of naturalism, they belittle you, they ridicule you, they mock your intelligence, they say you just don't get it, which if they can't explain it, then they don't really get it either, because you have to be able to explain something if you really understand it. It's kind of a marker of, do you know something, is can you teach it, can you explain it? And so they can attack you, they can ridicule you, make fun of you, and so evolution does have all these things with the followers of this faith. It uses a lot of science terms, tries to blend in, it tries to sound sciencey, using pseudoscience and scientism, and these things. And why this matters is because of the Constitution. Here in America, we have a constitution that says separation of church and state, and you're free to practice whatever religion you want. But you can't force people to do it, and if you want to teach it, it has to be at a private school, not at a public school. Yet all over the world, we're taught this religion, not just in America, but we're taught this religion in science class that has no evidence. And that's what I wanted to cover here. And my next video is going to go into this, because I have a case right now against my dean of science at my university for my state, I should say, about evolution being a religion that's being taught in school, not having any evidence. And he hasn't been able to provide me with evidence, but now I have someone helping me out, an investigator, to help make sure that he can't keep dodging me and trying to skirt around things. So my next video, I'm going to go into that a little bit more, but I wanted to thank you for giving me this much of your time. And let's if you want to critique me, or you want to comment, if you want to add something, please contribute. Please just be respectful, don't name call or anything. Let's be mature. But yeah, thank you very much, and God be with you.